Hi, this is Reverend David Hupp with His Print Media Ministries. Today's topic is how to take a document from a previous generation of something that was made with a negative for printing purposes and how to turn it into something digital. And so to start with, I decided at first, since this is a Korean document, you can see the Korean letters here, and I didn't have, I had Korean font on my computer because in Windows XP originally, I had downloaded the font package off the XP installation disk. And so I had the Korean fonts, but I didn't know anybody that typed Korea, so I had this popular track called How to Win, and I wanted to make it into Korean, and I was going to use the English layout format, which you see here, of two side-by-side fronts, and then upside down two side-by-side insides, which calls a work and turn, so that when you print it on a laser printer or a printing press, and then you flip it over on the short edge 180 degrees and print it through again, it only requires one page document, and then you cut it up and fold it, and it turns it into four pieces of literature. And so we're going to go back to Photoshop here, and what I'm trying to show you here is, first let's go View, Fit on Page, Fit on Screen. And so what I did was I used the negative as best I could with my scanner, and normally scanners don't like scanning negatives, but if you have a backlit one, or you can adjust it out. It's not easy. You really need to have a scanner made with a backlight for doing negatives. But anyway, I managed to get it this far, and when you zoom in, you'll see that to a larger size, there's a problem up here in the top row, is that things are a little fuzzy, and some of the lettering is a little iffy as far as having white spaces inside the lettering. So I wanted to have better quality than that. Not only that, but what happened was my document size ended up being way too big. Here's what the thing looked like when I pieced it together in Photoshop and recreated the what you'd call a camera-ready copy. It could be reprinted to a later laser printer, but the problem with this document is that it's a little fuzzy in the top lines, like I showed you. When you go up here, there's missing whitey spaces from an improperly made negative. And second of all, you see down here at the bottom in the left corner, you've got 257.8 megabytes. And you also see at the big size, you're starting to get a little fuzziness in the scanned graphics, but that's normal. So we're going to downsize the Photoshop document. The next thing I saw somebody across the street that was looking at buying a house, and the lady looked Korean. I went over to talk to her, and she said, yeah. She said, I can type that for you in Korean, retype it in Microsoft Word. That's what she did. And so what I did, I supplied her with a lower resolution that I could attach by email. It's a little fuzzy at the large size, but when you go View, Fit on Screen, this is a read order version. I cut out pieces in Photoshop and pasted them in the read order so she could have something to go by. I also gave her a copy of the English so she could compare and see how it should have been translated, and she did make a couple clarification changes and a couple words on the translation. And so she took it. What she did was she sent me over here. She sent me by email attachment this columns of text, and she explained at the bottom that the columns go from left to right on the you read from left to right, and then when you finish the bottom of one column, you go up to the top and start on the next column, and then you go down here to the remainder on the second page. And she wrote a little note here explaining about it and how she did it. And so what I did was I opened up my InDesign document. First I went back to the beginning here, and I decided I was going to try and cut it and paste it into a template that I had made, the English template that I had in InDesign. And I went over here, and I went Home, and then I went Copy, and I copied the first block of text. Then I went to my InDesign document, and when I went over here and I clicked right here in my text box, and I went Edit Paste, it just had these squares, which normally shows that it's missing the font. But as it turned out, it's thinking it's Times New Roman, and that's why it didn't fit. So up here, what you do, you see it did fit in up here, which I learned today. So if you would click right here at the beginning of the text, in the text box, you see it says Batong 12 point. So if I would click right here and drag over this, and I'd go edit, and I'm copying from the pasteboard what was pasted to the pasteboard from the Microsoft Word document, and I go edit paste like this, and you see it did go in there. But in the past I didn't know that, so I kind of said, well, I can't do this in Microsoft Word, or InDesign, Adobe InDesign like I normally do. And I know discovered that I couldn't do it in InDesign because of this perceived problem, but I also found out it didn't want to fit in my template of having the 4 columns like you see here. I had I get my hand, zoom out, fit on screen, fit page and window. Yes, my 4 column situation here, it didn't want to fit, and I didn't want to risk trying to paste it in there and then have the lines not hyphenate in the right places. I didn't know Korean, so I wanted to just have it paste in there exactly as it was in Word, maybe auto fit, or maybe change the type size a little bit. So I ended up deciding I would try and cut and paste it into Publisher. So what I did was, you see here my document I made in Publisher, also a Microsoft product. This is Publisher 2007. It includes a graphic up here that I put in. For the graphic, I made a text. I'm supposed to make a text box. You go up here, Insert, and then you go Picture, and then you go here to Insert Text Box first, and then you draw a text box like you could draw a text box right here, and then you would go Insert Picture from File, and then you'd search for the file on your computer where it was. You see all my choices here, and I have some other choices down here of where it actually is. It's not that one. We'll move that out of the way. So it was actually this one over here, I believe. Let's try this one. No, yeah, it's over here now. Okay, so what you see down here, here it is right here. It's some of the graphics are down here. I had included them in the document, so you would find where the graphic is, and then you would just go Insert, and it would put the picture in there. It'd be like this, and then you can size your picture. Got to close that down. You can size your picture over here by holding the Shift key down, and you get this double pointed arrow, and then you hold the Shift key down, use the left click on the mouse, and you can move the graphic, make it smaller by pushing in it from the corner or pulling out from the corner. You can also move the document, move the graphic around by one space at a time by just using your arrow keys on your keyboard. And so what I wanted to do here is I wanted to take that same thing that was on the clipboard from Microsoft Word and see if I could fit it in here. And so for temporarily, I'm going to move this to the side here. What I did here in my document, I knew that a printing press would either need a 5/16 or a 3/8 margin. I knew that an inkjet would need a 1/8 margin, and I knew that a laser printer would need something around a 3/16 margin. So I said, well, I'm going to make it a 3-fold document, work and turn, and I'm going to make the margins everywhere around to be 3/8 of an inch. So what I did was I click in the margin over here and pull out a guide, put the guide at the a thirds mark, about 3 5/8, and over here it's about 7 3/8, and then that's the first guide mark you put. Then you tell the under format or under format, and then you'd go to your margins, format the publication, and or over here under file, document setup, page setup, and then you would put in your margins of 3/8 for all the way around, and then you'd add your marks by drawing them out of the top margin here like this, or out of the other side to make your all your different 3/8 borders. And so then the next thing to do would be to draw a text box. This little A over here on the left in the tools palette is the text box tool. You click the cursor up here, the crosshair, drag down like this, and then we've got our text that you saw that was highlighted in Microsoft Word over here. It's highlighted there, and we went up here to Home, and then we went to Copy, and that copied it to the clipboard on the computer, and then we went back to our InDesign document of the publisher document, and this is not the one. Let's see, there must be another one here. Let's see if there's another one here. Yeah, this one over here. Yeah. Now this is my text box ready to insert the text. Then I would go edit, and I would go paste, and edit, paste. Didn't go in there. So let's go back to Microsoft Word again. Let's reselect this first section of text and go copy. Then let's go back to Microsoft Publisher again. Got our text box. We're going to go edit, edit, paste. Anyway, what happens is when you do that, it copies it off the clipboard and it copies it right into Microsoft Publisher 2007. And it doesn't have those little squares and pinks things because it knows that it's supposed to be this this baton font. As you go up here, you see it's baton and it's 10 point. Another thing you might want to keep in mind is if it doesn't seem to fit right, then what you'd like to do is drag across the whole thing, and then you would go up here under Format, and you go down here to Auto Fit Text, and you can go to Best Fit, and it disappeared for some reason, and you can edit undo that, or you can go down Format, and you can go Auto Fit Text, and you can choose Shrink Text on Overflow or Best Fit. So by doing that, you might be able to get it to fit better. I discovered that the best deal for this my application. Let me go edit, undo, edit, undo, edit, undo. So for my purposes, I found out that the best thing I could do, something happened here. It was to use 10 point. If you drag across here, as we drag across here, see if we can drag across with the text tool here. You found out that it was baton 10 point. So now we were able to have the document in Microsoft Publisher. I could have put it in InDesign, but I didn't know enough information at the time. And so then you end up with the document all properly laid out, like this one right here. And the nice thing about it, now your text is all fresh text. If you zoom up to 80%, 800% or so, you'll see the text is nice and sharp now. And so what happened, the end result is you have sharp text, you have fresh text that can be edited, you can drag across any text, and you can type in something different. Second of all, the original document that you saw here that was 257.8 megabytes, which was really unusable and kind of fuzzy, made from the negative, has now become something in InDesign that is actually reduced clear down to where I checked it out in the file properties over here, and it was I went down to properties, and then you found out that when you go under general, you see right here that it shrunk the thing down to 403 kilobytes from what was down here 257.8 megabytes. So now the document's entirely manageable. You can make it into a read or ebook, post it on the internet, send it to people by file attachment, and so it's a lot. And then when you actually print your copy on your laser printer or whatever, if it's not exactly folded, doesn't look centered when you print the front and the back side. All you have to do is mark up your copies, and just and you're going to be able to move each text box to the side, maybe like this, 1 or 2 notches, and then you're going to be able to get the things exact. After trial and error, you get it so when you print it and it folds, it comes out exactly right, even if you have to make a separate. Some laser printers print one way on the front side and then they print another way on the back side. So sometimes I just make 2 separate pages, one for the front side printing and one for the back side printing. That solves that problem. So as you see, this is how you take an old-fashioned days of negative document, and with the help of somebody that knows a foreign language and sends you the text in Microsoft Word, you get the text from them, you copy it, and you copy it to the clipboard a piece at a time. You open up the publisher document and you paste it in the columns that you've made and adjust it to fit. Find out the best type size. I found out on this one here that was a 4 column, it was 8 point, and I thought that's too small a point size of text, that maybe the Koreans can't read that very well. So I changed it to a 3 column layout, and I was able to get the text size to go up to a smaller. I was able to get it to go up to 10 point, you see here. So that's how the whole thing works, and that's how you're able to make a hard copy from the past that was a negative and turn it into fresh text for the modern digital age. So please stay tuned for other videos. That's it for now. Thank you.